ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀਓ ਮਿਥਿਅੰਤ ਦੇਹੰ ਖੀਣੰਤ ਬਲਨੰ ਪ੍ਰਦੰਤ ਜਰੂਆ ਹਿਤਯੰਤ ਮਾਇਆ ਅਤਿਅੰਤ ਆਸਾ ਆਥਿਤਯ ਭਵਨੰ ਗਨੰਤ ਸਵਾਸਾ ਭਿਆਨ ਧਰਮੰ ਪਤੰਤ ਮੋਹ ਕੂਪ ਦੁਰਲਭਯ ਦੇਹੰ ਤਤ ਆਸਰਯੰ ਨਾਨਕ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ 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 ਗੋਪਾਲ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ 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 ਗੋਪਾਲ ਕਿਰਪਾ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। So Sangat ji, we're going to be continuing on in the third part of Sehaskriti Salok, a continuation from the second video. In the second video, it cut off abruptly due to network issues. I was going through what the word mitheant means, coming from the word Mithya. I was able to go through and translate most of what Mithya meant, but just as a quick recap, that Mithya is that's something that is now, that exists now. So for example, this body is here now. We cannot deny that this body is in this form at present. But we all know this body has not always existed. So there was a time when this body was not here. So before this body started to be developed in the mother's womb, before that time it didn't exist. And then there will be a time that this body won't exist again. There'll be a time when all the elements that this body is made up of will go back into the elements. So that is Mithya, something that is temporary, something that isn't permanent, hasn't always been there, isn't always going to be, but is here right now. Uno mithya kiya janda, that is called mithya, mitheant. And what is mitheant? Satguru ji is telling us, Guru Arjan Dev ji in these slok, they're saying that mitheant is that, temporary is that. They said dehang means this de means this body. This body is temporary. De mitheant dehang. They said, what is happening to this body? This is keenant balanang. And the word balanang comes from the word bal meaning strength. Balanang, they said, what is happening to our strength? Again, the keenant. Keenant means that the strength of our body, keenant means it is reducing. Another translation to it is keenant means that it's coming to an end, it's diminishing. And what does that mean? That our bal, our strength, we are losing our strength every moment. And what does that mean? Because that may not be true in the sense, if we're young and we're growing up, a lot of that the physical strength is actually growing. So what type of strength are we actually losing? What is it that is being destroyed? That is being destroyed. We have no strength, that we are getting closer to death. That strength we are losing. We are losing in that game no matter what. So for example, somebody might be able to train and get nice big biceps, and then they're growing that strength, and every time they go into competition they win. They said, but in this competition of you getting closer to death, of this body coming to an end, you cannot win. That strength you will always be losing. And then Guru Arjan Dev Ji Pat Ji, then they say to us, they say that Bardant Jarua. Jarua translates to old age. And they said that Bardant in Punjabi translates to vadda something. Why is they said increasing? Kende jarua. They're saying that old age is increasing. And many of us might think, well, actually, that I'm still quite young, and no, old age isn't increasing for me because I'm still in my youth. But this doesn't mean that. It means that we are all vadde ja rahe hain, we are all getting closer to old age, or we are all getting closer to death, no matter what age we are. Because the truth is, we all know that even in these 3-4 minutes of the katha starting, we are 3-4 minutes closer than before to death. So the truth is, our age is actually reducing. Often we look at it in the way that our age is increasing, that now first I was 10 years old, now I'm 12 years old, so now I'm 39 years old. So we see it as an increase. But Pach saying that, oh, the kata, they're saying your age is reducing. They said because you should be counting your age in that way, as in, kende oh the kata, dinas rainare, dinas, this is rainare, this is the day is turning into night. The night represents death, meaning that actually you're getting closer and closer to death. So Sadhguruji is saying, count it that way. So if death is here, the older you are getting, count that as your age from now to us getting to death. So that they said that is your age. That means your age is actually reducing. Old means age, old kata, dinas, this the youth, dinas ranare is turning into the night of old age. Or the other way of looking at that is this dinas being day, being life, that this every moment is getting closer to ran, is getting closer to that night of death. So Satguruji is saying, just Bhagat Kabir ji, they say to us, they say that often, they said a mother gets so happy when her child is growing up. She's so excited about her child's birthday. But Bhagat Kabir ji saying, kende janani janat sut bada hota hai. Kende the janani, the mother thinks that my child is getting older. Kende janani janat sut bada hota hai. She says, but kende itna kana jane ke din din avad katata hai. But Bhagat Kabir ji saying, little does she know that actually you're saying, oh, my child, mera put vadda hunda janda hai. Look how old my son's getting now. Kabir ji saying, they said, itna ka na jane, little does she know ke je the din that every day that avad his age, katat of or her age, avad katat is actually reducing because it's getting closer and closer to death. Kende din avad katata hai, kende more adik lad tar. She's saying she calls that son mine, lo, more. Kende kar adik lad tar, kende pekat hi jamrao hasse. But Kabir ji said, they said, what a funny old game that Maut there, death is actually looking down, and death is laughing at us celebrating getting older, but death is actually laughing and saying that you're not getting older, you are actually getting closer to coming to me. So the truth is, every moment of ours is reducing. Satguruji tell us in Gurbani, they say that all our breaths, that we come into this world, into this life with a limited amount of breaths. And many of us get this mixed up. And many of us actually think that when we read these Mithya and Gurbani tells us that Ngan Kale Sab Divas Saas. This Bani is by Bhagat Kabir ji in Bavan Akris. They say Ngan Sangat ji means that something that is accounted. Kende Ngan Kale Sab Divas Saas. This is that all the breaths that we're going to take have been accounted. Kende Ngan Kale Sab Divas Saas. Kende Nehi Badan Katan Til Sar. Kende but they kende Nehi Badan Katan Til Sar. Kende but they cannot be burden, they cannot increase pattern, and they cannot be reduced even a little bit. And when we often, if you even read this translation now, if you're watching at home, when you read this, it seems like that Satguruji has sent us into this world, that Waheguruji, our creator, has sent us into this world and has given us an actual number of breaths, meaning that Waheguruji has given us, for example, 1 million breaths. And it seems like that when we read the translation, it's saying he has counted all the days and the breaths, that we're going to be living for exactly this amount of days. And so that means our date is preordained to what day we are going to leave. So we're going to leave on the 5th of March 2030, for example. But that's not what it means. Because remember, these days and dates we've created. So there's nothing to say that we're going to leave on the 30th of or the 5th of. There's nothing like that. So it seems like it's saying that counted means that all the days are being counted, that you're going to live exactly this many days, and the breaths are counted, that you're going to have 1 million breaths. It doesn't mean that. It means that ngan kale, ngan means ginati de sahan de naal apa ithi aaya, meaning that we've come into this world with only a limited amount of breaths, not unlimited amount of breaths. We get so upset and we get into so much sorrow when somebody leaves, knowing this is we all know this truth, we all know this fact. Just like I shared in my little promo video, when Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Patsha Ji sent Bhai Mardana Ji out, when they said to Bhai Mardana Ji, kende ja Mardaniya dukaan to kende ek jhoot leke aa te ek sach leke aa, kende go Mardana, go to the shop and go and get me one truth and go and get me one thing that is false. Bhai Mardana Ji went, and the shopkeepers laughed in Bhai Mardana Ji's face. They said, kende sato aloo hage ne, gajra hagiyan ne, mulliyan hagiyan ne, atta haga, kende we've got atta, we've got flour, we've got mulliyan, we've got radish, kende we've got potatoes, kende, but how can we give you a sach and a jhoot? How can we give you truth and a false? Bhai Mardana Ji karke bachan de bande hoye sige, because they were bound to Satguru Ji Paatshah Ji's command order. They continued going from shop to shop. But ek dukaan te jadon pahunche ta Bhai Mardana Ji ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਸੱਚ ਤਾਂ ਝੂਠ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਆ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ I need one truth and I need one something that is false. ਉਸੇ ਵੇਲੇ ਉਸ ਦੁਕਾਨਦਾਰ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਕਾਗਜ਼ ਲੈ ਕਰਕੇ ਕਾਗਜ਼ ਦੇ ਦੋ ਹਿੱਸੇ ਕੀਤੇ ਨੇ, ਇੱਕ ਕਾਗਜ਼ ਉੱਪਰ ਲਿਖ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਕਿ ਮਰਨਾ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ, ਤਾਂ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਕਾਗਜ਼ ਉੱਪਰ ਲਿਖ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਉਣਾ ਝੂਠ ਹੈ. He wrote straight away on one piece of paper, he wrote that dying is the ultimate truth of this body. I keep saying this, of this body, not of our true self, because such aya, what are we? Apata kabir iho ram ki ans. What are we? We are the ants. Anch means that we actually come from that family. What family? What is our lineage? Our lineage is Ram, is Waheguruji. So the truth is we all come from Waheguruji. They say that Kaho Kabir eho Ram ki ans. We come from that lineage, meaning our essence, where we come from, is Waheguruji. So our true self does not die. That is Janam Maran to Rat, that is beyond the cycle of birth and death, but it's this body. But the truth is, we are this body until we identify ourselves with this body. We are the mind and thoughts until we merely identify ourselves with that. Just because Guru Sahib Ji has told us that we got a jyot inside of us and that is our true self, that doesn't mean we know it yet as Gyan, as our knowledge. It hasn't become our truth. It only becomes our truth when we've actually had that realization. Until then, we are body. So that means we will die. But if we think we're body and the body dies, for us, then we're dead. But even though there's something that continues, so there's that fear of death, fear of something ending. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Paatshah Ji had sent Bhai Mardana Ji, and he wrote on the other piece of paper that living is false, meaning if you think that you're going to be here forever, they said that is the biggest lie you can actually tell yourself. And who was that? His name was Mullah Khatri. Sangat Ji, there's many animations made on Mullah Khatri as well. You can all Google them, the Sakya Mullah Khatri, and you can actually watch them at home and show them to your children. And our children should know this from the beginning, that Pehla Maran Kabool. First, if we want to actually live freely, we have this acceptance that first I accept that death is inevitable and it is the ultimate truth, and I'm getting closer to it every moment. This body is getting closer to it every moment. Pehla maran kabool jeevan ki chhad aas. That I let go of this aas, this hope that I'm gonna actually be here forever. And so Satguru Ji Paatshah is telling us that ke marne ki chinta nahi. This is that I've got no chinta now of dying. Marne ki chinta nahi. There's no marne ki chinta nahi, jeevan ki nahi aas. But I have no hope that I hope I don't ever die. I don't have this hope that I hope I live forever, because I've come to this reality. I know this for sure, that this is going to happen for sure. So because I've come to that reality within my mind that no matter what, that death is going to happen. So nanaka le sab divas saas. We look at this, and I hear this so many times, and many of times I've actually even heard this translated incorrectly by other speakers as well. But we all know that we've created these dates and days. So how can we say it's going to be on this day and that day? It was preordained that it's going to happen on this day and this date. And to say we're going to have exactly, no. Our breaths are limited, not unlimited. That's what it means. But then what seems really confusing, what catches us out is with this pankti is neh badan katan tilsar. And if we read the translation literally, it says that they do not increase. And over here it actually says, and placed them in people's destiny. Place them in people's destiny. If you look at that, nowhere in that pankti does it say that. Gan kale means you've been sent kale, you've been sent here with gan, with them limited. Gan is limited. And then sab divas saas, that sab divas saas, that all the days that you're going to take saas, your breath for, neh badan, they cannot increase, katan, they cannot decrease, tilsar, even a little. Til means even a little bit. Where does it say and place them in people's destiny? It doesn't. So sometimes we're going to be careful with these translations. They can really throw us. So when it says that nahi badan katan, they cannot increase or decrease even one little bit, I will make a very humble attempt to try and explain this. I might not be able to find the perfect words, and Sangaji, you have to, because we've been programmed to think about this in a certain way, we have to really now smash our old thoughts towards this topic of what we thought it was, and now with a fresh mind allow this to go inside. Neh badan katan, cannot increase or decrease. What does that mean? We've not come with a number preordained that it's 1,000,000 breaths. It doesn't work like that. We've come into this world, and the amount of breaths that we have are dependent on multiple and so many different variables. One, karam is going to have a play in it. Karam meaning our last life, in what's been happening in our last lives, and then what kind of desires we've come with. That's going to play a part. That energy, we bring in that energy with us, our desires. The womb, the mother that where we come into, the house that we come into, so meaning the genes that we carry, and then as we're born, and then the actual our everything, our immunity and what's been passed on from our parents, all of this is gonna aid and count towards this. But then now we should never forget, on this side, Guru Granth Sahib Ji saying to us, Ape beej, ape hi khaho, that whatever we sow, we reap ourselves. So then we, in this life, we have a choice. We have a choice of what we are going to sow. So for example, now that example could be, the example I'm going to use is that what we have that choice, that because Paatshah say to us that don't blame others for your own actions. This is dadda dos na deo kise dos krama apneya. They said it is our own actions. So they said take responsibility of your own actions. So then Satguruji saying, Ape Bij, you've now sown that seed, meaning so for example now, we've sown the seed of somebody's is consuming tobacco, of smoking a cigarette. So for example, that's the seed, that's the action. So they're saying now, so that Ape Bij, but now Ape Bij, Ape Hi Khaho, but we now have to pay the consequences for that. So for example, the consequences of that is Khaho, what we eat, what we reap from that. Meaning now, what that smoke, all those chemicals, all that nicotine and everything else that goes into tobacco, which I've not done my research, and I have, to be honest, but many years ago. I can't remember everything that's in there, because being somebody that used to smoke many years ago, so you look into these things, the effect that it has on your lungs, on your throat, on your stomach, because a lot of people think it just affects your stomach, your lungs, but no, it doesn't. It affects your mouth, it affects your throat, your lungs, and even your esophagus pipe. It affects all of these different parts of your body. Now, the way that smoke, now all those what is in that tobacco, what it does now, we have no power and control over that. So that car, what we have to now reap from that, we have no control over that. So Sangaji, so now how many ever breaths we are going to take accordingly to the actions and the choices we've made of our lifestyle, of the reaction that comes from those choices, we have no control over how many breaths we are going to breathe accordingly to the actions that we have done. So Nehbadan, they cannot increase because the reaction is in Waheguruji's hands. So dependent on what that has done smoke to us, depending on the diet that we are eating, how much we are exercising, the lifestyle that we are living, how much stress that we have. Now the outcome on all of these things, and obviously, like I said, the type of genes we've got and all of that, we have no control over all of these things on the reaction of our actions, and some aren't dependent. Obviously, we didn't consciously choose what womb to come in and then what genes that we've actually come with. So that are unconscious decisions, because even though the womb was chose accordingly to our desires and our actions of our past lives, so even that is our own responsibility in that sense. But now we can make a conscious decision. Consciously we can make that decision of whether we smoke, so that action's there, or what we eat, the type of food that we eat. But the type of food that we eat is then we have no power over the reaction to how many breaths we are going to take accordingly to that. Then I cannot say, even though I've done that action, no, I want to breathe this many breaths. Then it's not in my hands at all. It is accordingly to Waheguruji's laws. By you doing that, you can only breathe this many. That's what it means, ne badan katan tilsar, Sangaji. But if you've been programmed to be thinking it of a different way, this may not sink in straight away. So what you're meant to do with Gurbani is chintan of it. You don't just hear it once and bang, it's gone. You have to contemplate it deeply, and it's going to become your truth from inside, where you can see it. And that's what's important. There's been times, Sangaji, sorry, I'm going to go just for a minute. I'm just going to go out. It makes me laugh that I remember somebody asking this question about breaths and hukam and Waheguruji's laws and command and free will, and I used some of these examples used from this Pangati, and the person that asked the question, after me explaining for half an hour, he went back to, so we've got no play in this, have we? I was like, oh my god. I was like, I just spoke for half an hour. So Sangatji, so hopefully everyone has understood that, and I don't want to repeat anything, because you can watch it again and again until it sinks in. That gives us a lot of responsibility. So in that way, what that makes us do is, it makes us be more conscious of how we use each breath. That's why in some of the morning hukamname, those of you that do listen, that you would have heard these examples I used very recently, that Bhagat Friji saying that, Frida, je jana til thorade. If I knew that my age is reducing and this body is getting closer and closer to coming to an end and coming to death. It's exactly what we're going through, what Guru Arjan Dev Ji is saying. I'm not coming off my actual my point here, because Guru Arjan Dev is saying mitheant dehan. This dehan isn't going to be here forever. It's mithya, kinant balanang. Our strength to hold on to this body and not get closer to death is diminishing because we have no power over it. But we are getting closer to older age. Every moment we're getting closer to it. And then Satguruji is saying to us here, they're saying that Farida je jana til thorade. If I knew that the til means sesame seed literally, but the til here is referring to each breath, that if I knew that I only had a very few amount of breaths. So for example, if somebody was giving us a whole load of sesame seeds but we didn't know we're not going to get any more, that they said I would have been so careful with them, and each breath I would have taken carefully. I would have been so careful with those sesame seeds in how I use them, because once they're gone, they're gone. Once they run out, they run out. I can't do anything about them. So it means that I know one day these breaths are going to come to an end. I'm not here forever. And then if I live in that remembrance, I live consciously to that my breaths are limited, and each breath then becomes so precious to me, because this very breath could be my last one, because I don't know, right now this one could be the last one. So that's why Guru Sahib Ji said to us that hum admi ha ekdami moholat maut na jana, that we are here for the briefest of moment. We are only called an admi until we have breath in this body. It says hum, a means coming, dhamma means breath, e means inside. Until there is breath in this body, we are called a human being. Hum admi ha ekdami, but we are only a human being for one breath, because meaning that our whole life is dependent on this breath. If that one breath, if it doesn't return, and then that's it, I'm then a pile of dust. Kende that niksya fook, once the breath leaves this body and it doesn't return, niksya fook, then what happens? The kende ta hoye gyo swaha, then I become just a mere pile of ash. So Satguruji is saying that be very careful. The Sammal, they said, Friji said, if I knew this, then I would have been so careful with my breaths. Then I would not have wasted my life in being so full of arrogant and being so full of pride and trying to have this competition of staying at the top and looking down at other people, because that was then wasting my breaths. And then Guru Arjan Dev Ji Sache Paatshah Ji here, they are saying to us, Hityant Maya. Hityant means that hit meaning attachment, Maya. But my attachment to Maya, to this illusion, to that what is not permanent, is actually, as I'm getting older, it's actually getting more. Hityant Maya. I'm getting more and more attached to this. Merita Maya, Merita mo vadda janda. My actual attachment is increasing. And we will see this, Sangat Ji, that we'll see that many people, as they're getting into their older age, they're getting even more attached to their families. They're getting even more attached to their grandchildren. If anything, even anything happens to a grandparent's grandchild, they're in so much pain. I remember a situation within our own family, that remembering a time when one of my cousins, he was diagnosed with blood cancer, with leukemia, but at a very young age, only at the age of about 12. And from my memory, I think, so I'm really sorry if I'm getting the age wrong, but I think he was only at the age of about 14 when he passed away. But that really hit my grandmother, my nanny, and it hit us so much that it was only, I think it was about 6 to 8 months after she passed away. But she got cancer as well. But from that moment, she went into so much sorrow that it had a big toll on her body as well. So sometimes as we're getting older, our attachment can grow even more, unless you're a Gurmukh. A Gurmukh becomes more and more detached as they get older. A Gurmukh, those that are following the Guru, they even know 6 months before, at least, when they're going to leave this world. There's some Mahapurukhs that know well in the hand, like Baba Mani Singh Ji from Smedik. They knew well before that they're going to leave at an early age, and they would constantly be doing an ishara towards that direction. They'd constantly be giving signs, as their mother, their Mataji, would say to them for them to get married, but they said, no, I don't want to do that to whoever. If I was to get married to someone, she's going to be left alone. So they have that inner knowing of what's going to happen in the future. So instead, Gurmukhs, there was a Gurmukh that from Delhi in India, a very Gurmukh Pyara, whose family had done Sangat of Baba Nand Singh Ji. And this Gurmukh, again from our relatives, who served the Mahapurkh at Nanak Sar, Baba Gurdev Singh Ji, Tan Baba Gurdev Singh Ji from Pai Ki Samad. This family Parvar still up until today takes langar to Nanak Sar every day. I'm not sure exactly how many days in the week, or maybe every day. And this Gurmukh, the father, they used to take langar on a regular as well. But he was so judaya hoya, he knew when he was going to go, and he became more and more detached as his time came closer to his death. He wouldn't let his family come anywhere near him as the days were getting closer, but they had no idea. But he removed himself from so many situations. He was so detached to the house that was being built. It was a 3-story house that he didn't even go upstairs to look at it, because he was becoming more and more detached as he was getting closer to his death. But often those that are stuck in worldly entanglements to this illusion, their attachment is growing more and more to their children and to their wealth and everything else, and to their body. So Guru Arjan Dev Ji Paach Ji, then they say to us that Atyant asa athitya pavanang. Atyant means from the word at means so many. Asa, they're saying that we have so many hopes in this world, in this life, that I hope this happens, I hope that happens. They say, but not realizing, not knowing that Atyant asa, but atithya. Atithya means a guest. Pavanang means house. They're saying within the house of this body, we don't realize that we're just a mere guest. We're not going to be in this body forever, but we've got so many hopes that I hope I get this, I hope that I can have that, I hope I have a child, I hope I have a son, I hope I get this in life. And these hopes, they don't come to an end, not realizing that I'm a mere guest, that if these hopes don't come to an end, that is going to make that birth and death cycle continue for me, because it's the energy of the hope that will get me into another body so I can fulfill those hopes, and then I get more hopes in that life, then I continue, but I live unsatisfied and in these burning desires from inside, and going through the pain of birth and death so many numerous times. And then Paach is saying ganant savasa payan tarmang. Sometimes Guru Sahib Ji, it's like they have a right crack on us, because Guru Sahib Ji, Guru Arjan Dev Ji Pachis is obviously Brahm Roop themselves. They are Parmeshwar Roop themselves. They have the form of the formless. The formless has taken form as Guru Arjan Dev Ji. So they know everything. Then they can see the whole game. It's like and Guru Sahib Ji just, having a right go at us. They say Gananta. There's somebody's there counting. They said what? Gananta Savasa is counting your breaths, meaning seeing that each moment your breaths are reducing, getting closer to death. This is who Payan, that relentless who, they said that Taramang. Taramang means Taramang normally translates to the righteous judge, but here it's talking about death. Death is there waiting and counting your breath, saying, oh look, you're getting closer to come to me. And then Guru Arjan Dev Ji Paach Ji, then they say that Patant Moh ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਪਤੰਤ ਮੋ ਕੂਪ. What that means, koop means a well, a deep well, and this is what's happened is patant means fallen, dige hoye. Kende ਆਪਾਂ ਡਿੱਗ ਗਏ ਹਾਂ, we've fallen into the well of attachment. Attachment is when we're trying to hold on to something and we're living in so much fear that I hope that I don't lose this. Some people, they don't even get to enjoy, they don't even get to have the joy of their children because constantly they live in this anxiety and this anxiousness that I hope nothing happens to my child. Remember, there's that hope again. It's not letting us live and be free. There's that fear. I hope nothing happens to my child. And then we're holding on to them in this fear. And Guru Sahib ji saying, you patant, you falling into this well of more of attachment. You're not even getting to experience life. You're not even getting to live in joy. Instead of joy, living in fear, and you're trying to hold on to something. More means that when something that you're holding on to, then we end up losing due to death or due to whatever reason. If that person leaves us, like I was saying yesterday, somebody might end up getting dementia. Somebody might end up getting some form of disease where they start to lose their memory. So you lose that person completely. As you lose that person because they don't ever remember who you are anymore, how crazy is that, Sangat Ji? That those people that we are so attached to, but when, never mind after we lose them after death, those people that we were so attached to, they don't even remember us anymore because there's been a difference, a change within their brain, and they've had a loss of memory and they can't even recognize their own partner anymore. So we lose that person. So, and what's happened is because we've lose that person, because we were so attached to them, we go into this in immense amount of sorrow. And I know within my own relatives that when one of my relatives lost her husband, she didn't sleep for about 4 years. She'd just nod off probably for about 10-15 minutes throughout the night. And imagine that, becoming like this zombie, becoming like, we talk about becoming a ghost after death, but it's like becoming ghost-like whilst we're still alive, and it's all because of attachment. These things happen. Patanta, Mo, Koop, falling in this, and Guru Sahib Ji saying, you're living your life like that, not realizing durlabh dehan, but it's so difficult to obtain this body. We're so fortunate to have this body. Jagraj Singh Ji used to say, I can't remember the figures, but he used to have this figure. He said to win the national lottery, it's easier to win the national lottery than if you work out, if there's 8.4 million forms of existence of life. He said to actually, out of the 8.4 million ending up as a human being, he said that is really something. He goes, that's bigger than hitting the jackpot. This life is so durlabh, but we end up wasting it. Our breaths, we're not actually taking care of them. We're not seeing them to be precious, but we're actually losing them in this attachment of this life. Then Pachi kende tate asriyang nanak kende. Then what happens kende? Now Guru Nanak Dev, Guru Arjan Dev Ji Pachi kende do ardas that I need the asrang, I need the support of who? Of Gobind, 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 Gopal, Kripa. That I connect, I need the asra, I need the support of what? To get through this life that is so full of attachment, of attaching myself to the name of Gobind, having the meditation and the remembrance of Vaheguruji within my mind, man, and having Gobind upon my tongue, meaning the way I speak to others, that I've got the attributes of Vaheguruji. So if Vaheguruji is mit bolada ji har sajjan swami mora, ho sammal thakki ji o kade na bole kauda, kauda bolna jane puran bhagwane augan ko na chitare. Pachi Singh kende mit bolada ji har sajjan swami mora. What does it mean to have the remembrance of Waheguru Ji within my mind? Man karke, because then the remembrance of Waheguru Ji will be on my tongue. Whatever I speak to others will be in sweetness. It won't be bitter. That's what it means. When I speak with full of sweetness from inside to somebody, when I speak the truth, then I'm in the remembrance of Waheguru Ji. Gobind, Gobind. I do ardas to have this support in my life, to have this remembrance. Gobind, Gobind, Gobind. And then as karma karke as well, man bach karma har ek tiyaye, that I'm meditating on Waheguru Ji with my mind, with my tongue, with my speech, and karma with my actions in what I do with my hands and feet and with this body. Pach kende Gobind, Gobind, Gobind. And meditating in Waheguru Ji in this way, Gopal Kripa, I beg for your, I want the asra, I need the support of your Kripa, of your grace, Gopal, oh that one that takes care of me. Only then I can break away from the attachment of this world. This is what Guru Arjan Dev Ji Pach Ji is saying to us in the 3rd Salok of Sehaskriti Bani. Always Mahapurkha ne sanu ek sikhya diti. The Mahapurkha that Das got to spend time with, who blessed me with this gift of Katha. Tan Baba Gajan Singh Ji, Bai Ji, they would constantly until even their last moments, there was one word always upon the tongue of Bai Ji, and that was Tanvad, Tanvad. Even when they would be sitting on stage and somebody would just finish doing a shabad, they would say Tanvad, Tanvad. If we're constantly thankful, living in this gratefulness, we'll break away from that more, we'll break away from that attachment. What a beautiful way to live our lives. And then Guru Arjan Dev Ji Pacha Ji, they're saying to us, then the next slok, in the chothe slok, this is now using a metaphor. So now keeping up with the metaphor, Guru Sahib Ji saying actually the Bisrams would be like this. Kaach Kot, a little Bisram there, Kaach Kot, Rachant Toyang, and then the Lepanang Rakat Charmane. So in that way. So Kaach Kotang comes together. Kaach Kotang is what? Kaach means kachi. Kachi means something that is fragile. Something that can easily break. Kotang. Kotang comes from the word kot. Kot meaning, not coat. Kot meaning fortress. This fortress, which fortress is Satguru Ji referring to? The fortress of this body. This body, this fortress body is what is kaach, is kachi, is very fragile. Rachant toyang, rachant means that it's made from, meaning where did the journey of this body all start from? They said it started from toyang. Toyang means pani, from water. And then, but what form of water do they mean? They don't just mean as in the water that comes out of the tap. It means it came, the journey for this body started from where? It started from the viraj. Viraj means that semen, the sperm from the father. They're referring to that water. They said the journey started, look where it all started from. Look how fragile it is, they said. This is then lepanang. And then for that fortress, they said it needs to be plastered. And it's often plastered with semen. But even that semen, especially in those days, that have more sand in it than the actual cement itself. And so it'd be very kachi and that cement could just break. And this says then, what are we plastered with? It says we're plastered with lepanang, with rakat. Rakat means blood. We're plastered with blood. Charmana. And then we're wrapped in what? We're wrapped in this skin. We sometimes think so much of ourselves, we forget about death so much, we think we're here forever, and we all think, yeah, I'm here for a good while yet, not knowing this is all we are. We've come from this bit of water, and the other way looking at it is we got 70% water inside of us as well. We're here plastered with blood, and we're just this skin that is wrapped around us, meaning that this body is so delicate. It doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot. Look how fine this makeup of this body is. It could last for years and years and years, but all it could take is I could just trip up going down the stairs. I could fall down the stairs, knock my head, and that's it. I'm gone. within an instant. I remember this, again, a relative from India, and bahut naam jappan wali rooh si, meditating on naam all the time. And she was a Sangi, and she did Sangat of Rada Sahib, and she did Darshan of Rada Sahib wale Mahapurkh, Baba Ishar Singh Ji Rada Sahib wale. And then she could continue to go, and she continued to do Darshan of the Pura Sahib wale Mahapurkh that remained in the Pura afterwards. And she was fit and well. She was, from my knowledge, I think she was only in her 60s, very fit and well, and her chehra would be chamking. Chamking, that's not really a word. that's Pinglish, that's English and Punjabi mixed together. Chamking to chamkadasi, meaning her face was radiant. She'd always be doing Sukhmani Sahib Bani all the time. But all of a sudden, all that happened to her was that she fell off. She was on the scooter with her son, and all that happened was this: they had no accident, no nothing. Just getting off the scooter, she just slipped off the scooter and she fell. She hit her head, and that was it. She was gone. Satguru Ji say to us, "Kaha bisasa is pande ka." This says, what faith can you put in this panda? They said, this is just like a piece of china. This is just like a piece of panda, like something that's made out of a plate made out of glass. You drop that plate, it smashes into pieces. This body is like that as well. Said it's so delicate, you don't know when it's going to break. Somebody just has a sudden heart attack. We don't know when it's going to happen. Walking down, not even thought about it, have a car accident, that's it, you're crushed. And Sadhguru Ji, kaha bisasa is a pande ka. What faith can you place in something that is like a panda, something that is just like a dish? Kande kaha bisasa is a pande ka itna ka lage. Sorry Sangadi, muh sok gaya hai. Mouth is dry, so Baat jing itna ka lage thanka. Kande it takes a little flicker. That's all it's gonna. That's it, and it's gone. And it'll break. Kande itna ka lage thanka. Kande you put so much faith in this. Guru Sahib Ji saying here to us, this is what they're reminding us through these words. Kande Navant Dwarang. Navant means from the number 9. No. Nave vi kehte je paach. Kande Navant Dwarang. This body has 8 gates. And then they say 9. Sorry, Sangaji, 9. This body has 9 gates. So those 9 gates, we know we've got the do akhan, the 2 eyes, and we've got the 2 ears, 2 nostrils, the mouth, and then we've got the front passage where we urinate from, and then the rear passage. So that makes the 9 gates. Navant dwarang peet, rehtang peet means doors, rehtang means but. These gates come without doors, meaning they've got no doors. So then Pachaji say kende bae rupang. Bae means breath. Bae literally translates to air, but here we translate it to breath. Bae rupang asthambane. But then what's holding up this fortress, the fortress of our body? Asthambane means the pillars. So what's the thumb of this fortress of this body is our breath. Once the breath is holding everything together. When we refer to Jiva Atma is made up of our man. Man is the Hankar, and then the Manas, then the Chit, and then Buddh. So we've got this is a Jiva Atma. So we've got the man, and then we've got the Man, Chit, Buddh, Hankar. So you can watch the Brahm Vidya series to understand all of this. If I start going into all of this now, we won't get through the Sehaskriti Salok. So then we've got so just to simplify, we've got our memory bank, which contains all our lifetimes worth of karam, all the actions that we've done from many lifetimes, that's held in there. And then what holds this jeev, and then we've got the intellect in there, we've got the home in there, the I am in there, and then we've got the chitta in there, which is the higher consciousness. So we've got all of that, and then we've got the soul, we've got the atma, and then we've got the body, the asthul sarir, this actual physical body. And then what makes a jiva atma, what holds it all together, is the breath. So the breath is the thumb of this. But you know how delicate that is. Once that breath's gone, it all falls apart. And then the jeev continues its journey into then the next body. Then Satguru Ji saying to us, Kende Gobind Namang Neh Simrant. Kende, but if you haven't remembered the name of Gobind, the name of Waheguru, the name of God, Kende, then Kende Agyani Janant Asthirang. Kende, because you then through Naam was the way that our Guru, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, the way Guru Nanak Dev Ji has given us for self-realization is Naam. And then this says, but if you remain agyani, if you remain somebody that is in ignorance, Janant, they end up thinking that sthirang, meaning that this body is permanent. Asita kadi muknani, we think that death comes to the next door neighbor. We think death comes to that person that we read about in the papers, not to us. The fair part, remember I said even though we know intellectually that death is going to come one day, but we don't live our life in that way that this could be my last breath. Because the moment we think this could be the last breath, do you think we'd have jealousy for someone? Do you think that if we lived it as if this is the last one, do you think we'd have desires for something that is absolutely irrelevant, that isn't going to help us in any form of way in our spiritual journey? Of course not. So Satguru Ji then says that Durlabh Deh Udrant. But how does this Durlabh Deh, this form of life, this human form of life that is so difficult to come by, this says how can it be Udrant? Udar comes from the word Udar. How can it be saved? We can be saved, meaning this life, how can we make it successful? How can we make this life fruitful? Paanch chीज कहते दुर्लभ दे उदरांत साध शरण नानक. Guru Arjan Dev Ji Paanch Singh is saying going into the sanctuary of the Sadh of the Guru. So then Guru Arjan Dev Ji, then they say to us, then they say that Har 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 Hare Japant. And this is what will the Guru do for us? The Guru will instill Hari, the name of God, in every part of us. All that will be inside of us is Vaheguru, 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 Vaheguru will be in every breath. Saas, Saas, Simro Gobind. And then Paanch Ji say to us that once Waheguru Ji becomes the remembrance with each breath, that Saas, Saas, Simro Gobind, Man antar ki utare chind, then all the anxieties of this mind will disappear. All anxiety stems from the fear of death. Once we connect to our true self, that fear of death will be gone, because we then know there is no such thing as death for me. And then Satguru Ji, Paanch Ji, then they say to us, and now starting so that's we've just finished the 4th slok, and so now coming on to the 5th slok. In this 5th slok, Guru Sahib Ji now, what they do is they bring our mind into praising Waheguru Ji, into that realization of how great Akal Purkh Waheguru Ji is. They say Subant Toyang. Toyang means you. That you are what? You are Subant. Subant means that your glory is so great, meaning, and then the word Subant here means your glory, and then that actually connects to the word Puranang. Puranang means that one that is omnipresent, that one that is everything and is in everything. Saying that one's glory is everywhere, is in every place. The kende toyang, yours, and then achut gunagyang. And this is achut. The word achut comes from the word atal. Atal means, if we look at the word tal means something that moves, but saying that you are immovable. You are atal, you are achut. You are completely stable. You cannot be moved. You are unmoving. You are unchanging. Meaning that's what we are all looking for. we are looking for that stability. Where we're living a roller coaster. We're up and down like anything. One day we're calm, the next moment we're angry, the next moment we're chasing for that, we're greedy for something else, and then the other moment that we get all excited, we're in joy, we lose something, we're in sorrow, we're up and down like yo-yo, Sangat Ji. So then Guru Sahib Ji saying that this is what we're actually looking for. This is what we will experience when we, through Simran, through the remembering Waheguru Ji, through Naam, it will take us to that place of a chut, of where we just become still, we're completely stable from inside. And then Sadhguru Ji says, Subhant toyang achut gunagyang. The word gunagyang means that you know, you are the one that knows, you are the knower of my qualities, of my merits. So whatever merits I've got, you know about them. So I don't need to put them on show, because remember, this is all about becoming like Waheguru Ji. I don't need to tell the world that, look, this is my merit, this is how good I am, this is how great I am. Because Waheguru Ji is the gyata of that. So the gun, then gyang means the gyata, the knower of my merits. So that means I need to keep that contained. I shouldn't be telling somebody else, this is how great I am, this is all the qualities that I have got. That's between me and Waheguru Ji. That is when I become like that I'll be content knowing that Waheguru Ji knows, and that's the only person that knows, needs to know. And then Guru Arjan Dev Ji Pat Ji say Puranang, we've already translated, meaning the one that is omnipresent. Bahullo means both. And what is that one? Is so much of? Is Kripala. You are so compassionate, Waheguru Ji, that I'm doing now this ardas to you, Hai Satguru Ji, that I'm doing this ardas to you, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, that save me from being attached. Gambirang, you are so gambir, you are so profound, you are unfathomable that I cannot even imagine I cannot comprehend how deep you are, Waheguru Ji. That Gambirang Uche, you are so great and you are so profound, Waheguru Ji. That Sarbag Apara, Sarbag means you know everything about everyone. Apara, you are limitless. So sometimes we get into this little thing in our mind that nobody understands me. We become this victim. And we say that nobody can understand what I'm going through, that this is so deep, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I'm going through, but it cannot be as deep as Waheguru Ji. Waheguru Ji is so deep that they know Pale Bure Ki Peer Pachanat, that they know everything about everyone. Pale, those that are good, Pale Bure, those that are bad, Pale Bure Ki Peer, whatever pain they are in, Pale Bure Ki Peer Pachanat, Waheguru Ji recognizes that. But it's us about making that relationship, Waheguru Ji, to connect to Waheguru Ji, that does know that. So the first step towards that is just contemplating, going inside of us and saying, Waheguru Ji, I have faith that you do understand, that you do know. There is someone that knows, and that is you, because you are profound and deep enough to know what my inner situation is. Once we take that step, and we know and we see Waheguru Ji to be forever present, and in the Hajuri of Waheguru Ji, keeping Waheguru Ji hajar to us, and then saying to Waheguru Ji inside of us that you do understand. The moment we say that, Waheguru Ji, you do understand, there'll be a little change. Waheguru Ji will start showing us the way of coming out of that situation. Always knowing that no matter how deep or profound our thoughts and our pain is, Waheguru Ji is always deeper and will always understand and know. Then they say that Pritya Priyang Pritya. Pritya means Pagat, that devotee of Waheguru Ji. Priyang means Pyara, that beloved. They're saying that Waheguru Ji, that you are that beloved of your servants, of your Pagats, of your devotees, Bisram Charanang. And where do we find Bisram, where do we find that Bisram means peace? Peace is only found in Charanang, in Waheguruji's feet. What does it mean to find peace in Waheguruji's feet? When we become humble, when we live in humility and we lower ourselves, being in Waheguruji's Charan means to be low. And when we live in humility, over there is peace. Because only when we live in arrogance, there's competition. We need to stay at the top. When we see somebody that is above us and we think that we need to get there, there's no contentment, there's a chase to get there. So then there's no peace. When we see somebody up there, there's jealousy and we don't want them to be there, we want them to come down. When we're in arrogance, when we're looking down at someone, and from that place, then we're afraid don't want them to come here. So then we're afraid that we need them to stay there, and I need to stay here. I need to obtain my position. Look at that. Look at the mess that we are in our head. That's turmoil. So there's no peace. But when we're in Nimrata, there's no competition. Because I am the lowest of of all, and I'm here to serve everyone. There's no competition there. There's no jealousy there. There's no looking down at anyone. And then that's what it means to be in Waheguruji's Charan. That's why only in humility is there Bisram, is there peace. Anath Nathe Sharan Saranang, saying that Anath Nathe is saying that only Anath Nathe Nanak Sharanang. They're saying that who is it that actually goes into the sanctuary of Waheguruji, even though Guru Arjan Dev Ji here is saying to us that I have this Anath, the one that is masterless, has taken Waheguruji to be my master, and I've gone into Waheguruji's sanctuary. But the way to look at that is that we, Sangat Ji, how do we get Waheguruji's protection? Is by becoming an Anath, is becoming an orphan first. If we don't allow anybody else to be our master, if we don't allow our mind to become our master, who is ruling us, who is leading us, who is controlling us, and if I say that Waheguruji, I want you, if somebody becomes an Anath, just like when Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji was going through the mountains of Kashmir, Guru Sahib Ji heard a child crying. When Guru Sahib Ji heard a child crying, they said to the Gursikhs, this is go and find where that sound is coming, go and find that child who is crying. The Gursikhs went and they said, Guru Sahib Ji, all we saw was a group of little puppies, and they said we saw no child. And Guru Sahib Ji said, if you go and look inside of that little circle that the puppies have made, because I'm telling you there's a child crying. Those Gursikhs went, they moved the puppies away, and they saw that there was this child on the floor, filthy, and they saw that the dogs were licking this child's face. This child's face was all dirty and filthy. They said, Satguru Ji, haan ek bachcha hai ithe runda. They said, there's a child here crying. Guru Sahib Ji said, kende, is bachche nu mere kol leke aao. They said, bring this child towards me. They picked up this child who has been left by this child that has been left by his parents. Why is this child being left? Because they saw that child to be somebody that was bad luck for them. And because they were told by the local pundits that because that child was born with these sharp teeth, and they said this child is bad luck and it's going to bring bad luck to the family, so they'd thrown this child out. So this child was an orphan. It had no parents, had no master. Guru Sahib Ji kende is bachche nu kende mere baਹਾਂ vich rakho. Gursikh kende Sache Paatshah. They said, oh Sache Paatshah Ji, they said, how can we put this child in your arms? This child is dirty. This child is kuthra. It will make your beautiful chola dirty. Guru Sahib ji ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਸ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੂੰ ਮੇਰੇ ਬਾਹ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੱਖੋ. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ no, put this child in my arms. Guru Sahib ji put their arms out like this. As they put their arms out, they put this child in Guru Sahib ji's arms, and at once that child stopped crying. Guru Sahib ji, Guru Har Gobind Sahib ji Padshah ji, 6'6", 6'7", chest as wide as somebody's, they say how an average man's chest, the circumference of an average man's chest, Guru Sahib ji's is that wide, just on one side. This Guru Avaz that is Vad Jodha Bahupar Upakari, is Bahupar Upakari, that is here to help the world. Guru Sahib ji ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ, they got their palla, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਸ ਬੱਚੇ ਦਾ ਮੂੰਹ ਸਾਫ਼ ਕੀਤਾ, clean the face of that child. ਮੇਰੇ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕੌਣ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਸਿੱਖੋ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਨੇ ਆਖਿਆ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਕੁੱਥਰਾ ਆ? They said, who told you that he is dirty? ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਓਏ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਿੱਖੋ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕੁੱਥਰਾ ਨਹੀਂ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਸੁਥਰਾ ਆ, ਸੁਥਰਾ. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ this child is immaculate, this child is pure. Guru Sahib ji's bachan, this child is pure. That child came to be known as Sutra Cha. Sangat ji, Shah meaning that king. Why? Guru Sahib ji said this child is pure. This child is a Brahmagyani. Because a Brahmagyani is like a child. Because a Brahmagyani is pure. Just like Bhagat Farid ji said, Kande je jana so nandada ta thoda maan kari. If I knew that God was like an innocent child, I would remain like a child. Just like Bhai Gurdas ji said, Kande Bhola Bhaye. Kande that Bhola Bhaye. Kande that's how Bhagat Tanna ji met Vaheguru ji, with his innocence. And Sangat ji and Bhagat Kabir ji said as well, Kande Bhole Bhaye Mile Raghuraya. When you become like a child, Guru Har Gobind Sahib ji is saying to the world, when you become innocent like a child, that's what it means to have Brahma Gyan. They said this child is pure. The Gursikhs fell at Guru Sahib ji's feet. Kande Sache Paatshah ji, Kande tusi, Kande sach keha, Kande ਬੱਚਾ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁਣ ਸੁਥਰਾ ਹੋ, this child is become pure. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ the truth is ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਗਲਤ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਖਿਆ. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ we didn't say anything wrong as well, in so much humility. Look at how beautiful this is. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ the truth is ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕੁਥਰਾ ਹੋਵੇ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜਿਹਦਾ ਵੀ ਮਨ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਅੱਤ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਪਾਪਾਂ ਦੇ ਮੈਲ ਨਾਲ ਭਰਿਆ ਹੋਵੇ. They said whose ever mind is filled with the dirt of ਕਹਿੰਦੇ sins, when they come into the Guru's arms, they stop crying, all their suffering ends. And the Guru Sahib ji, you give him your teachings, you give him your shabad, you give him your shabad and mantra of Vaheguru. You wipe their face, you wipe them through your teachings and through your mantra, and they become immaculate. Kande Satguru ji, that's your bird, that's your nature, Satguru ji. Patit Pavan har bird sadaye. Kande you are said to be that one of Patit Pavan. You purify those that are patits, you purify those that are sinners, Paatshah ji. That's what you do. Patit Pavan har bird sadai, ek til nahi panne kale. Sangat ji, dekho ਸਾਡੇ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਨੇ. our Guru is such that ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਸੋਚਦਾ ਸੀ ਹੁਣ I was thinking ਮੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਤਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਬੋਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ. I'm not going to be able to speak. My mouth is completely dried out. But the moment that I started to picture Guru Har Gobind Sahib ji Paatshah ji, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪ ਹੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ ਆਪ ਹੀ ਬਲ ਬਖਸ਼ ਦਿੱਤਾ. They themselves gave this strength to speak. ਆਖਣ ਜੋਰ ਚੁੱਪੇ ਨੇ ਜੋਰ. That the power is not in our hand. The Shakti is in ours, that controls us to be silent, that controls us to speak. Oh laaj rakhda. He keeps the honor and he blesses us. When we become that orphan, like that child that was thrown out, when we say, I have no one else, for me there is only you, then Vaheguru ji will become our master from inside. Just like Satguru ji Paatshah ji has said to us over here, Anath Nathe Nanak Sharan, and then we'll be protected by our Guru. When I say, when I've got no one and I want you, Vaheguru ji. So we'll do Samapti here. The plan was that I'll be going through 8 sloks per video, but I've managed to do 3 just now. So we'll continue the 6th slok from tomorrow. So please do join us. Beinti a sangat nu. So let's just read the last 2 pangtiyan and let's do samapti. Satguru Ji Pacha Ji here is saying to us, if I can find where I am, here we are. They say, Pritya Priyang Visram Charanang Anath Nathe Nanak Sharanang. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Vaheguru, 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 Vaheguru.